Clock at 8, splits the defense again, gets to the rim, puts it in, and a foul! Wow!
Lin puts it up, puts it in! Jeremy Lin off to a terrific start, 7 points.
Back to Lin. Lin gets hit, puts it in, and a foul!
Jeremy Lin's rise and fall from 3 weeks of fame to a forgotten role player is one of the most fascinating stories in the modern NBA. When conversations arise about Lin, fans love discussing his game winner versus the Raptors or the near 40-point bomb he dropped on Kobe Bryant on national television. These stories are great. Watching Linsanity highlights are a reminder of how unpredictable the NBA can be, but many fail to bring up what happened before and after the New York Knicks chapter. People don't discuss his Warriors days in 2010, how he had absolutely no confidence in his game and had anxiety about being put on the court. His high school days were fantastic. He led his team to a 32-1 record, yet he received no college scholarship offers. He was an undrafted man out of Harvard and worked to exhaustion to land a spot with Golden State, then Houston, and both failed. Lin was then given a chance by the Knicks, exploded onto the scene, but fell off a cliff soon after. What happened? His time in New York may take the headlines, but they won't tell you the full story. That's where I come in. This is the real story about the rise and fall of Jeremy Lin.
Lin puts it up, puts it in! Jeremy Lin!
What I like this.
Lin picks it up, Lin drives in and lays it in!
Jeremy Lin's basketball story begins in Palo Alto High School in California. As stated before, he went 32-1 in his senior year as the captain of his team. He was awarded the Northern California D2 Player of the Year as a result, with strong numbers of 15 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds. He was also named First Team All-State and Northern California Division II Player of the Year. You'd think these achievements would catch the eye of some school out there, but Lin was only accepted into a handful. He went to Harvard out of all schools, an excellent spot, no doubt, but you don't hear about many basketball success stories coming from the Crimson. This was a tough pill to swallow, especially considering how he applied to every Ivy League school and sent his mixtape. But only Harvard and Brown University guaranteed him a spot on their team. Lin took this chance, but the fun didn't start immediately. He was the weakest guy physically on his team. In his sophomore season, things changed. He was now putting up 12, 0, and was named to the All-Ivy League second team. That was nice and all, but his junior year was an even bigger leap. Now he was averaging 18 points per game and was the consensus selection for the All-Ivy League first team. His senior year saw him win another selection for the All-Ivy and gained even more attention when he scored a career-high 30 points against the Connecticut Huskies. Jeremy Lin had caught a few eyes for his much improved play during college, but wasn't enough to be selected in the upcoming 2010 draft. The answer to that question was a hard no. Lin went undrafted and had to scrape his way through Summer League and Dallas to get a shot. He averaged 10 points per game in the summer stint and signed a 2-year deal with the Golden State Warriors shortly after, a 2-year contract that included a team option in year 2. Seeing an Asian American play basketball at the highest level was inspiring for so many, and Lin's positive influence would only grow over time. He didn't do much in his rookie year, only putting up 3 points on 39% shooting, but this was only the start. The 2011 offseason saw him deal with knee issues, being waived by the Warriors, then picked up by the Rockets and let go again. His next chance came in the form of the New York Knicks, a team that had lost plenty of guards to injury. This could be a chance to show what he's got. First, he was put in the G League, put up a 28-point triple-double, and was then recalled by the Knicks to join the big leagues. Lin was so nervous about the possibility of being cut that he asked a chaplain at a pregame prayer service to pray for him. New York was in a mess and needed a fresh face on the floor. Lin was thrown onto the court in a game against the New Jersey Nets and went to work. He put up 25 points in a win, a fantastic performance that gave the team a massive resurgence. Lin looked poised, calm with the ball, and fans began liking it. He then put up 28 points versus the Jazz and 23 points against the Wizards, both ending in W's. An elite 3-game stretch, but fans were ready for the fun to come to an end as the Knicks squared off against the Lakers in MSG. A primetime matchup was taking place and Kobe Bryant was the center of attention. He barely even knew who Jeremy Lin was. So Jeremy showed him. 38 points and 7 assists was what he showed him, hitting a barrage of threes and throwing flashy passes to deliver New York a huge win. This is when fans really believed the kid was legit. A player coming out of nowhere like this and taking the league by storm was unheard of, and it was called Linsanity. The next matchup saw him score 20 and yet another win, but all of that would fail in comparison to his game versus the Raptors. In a battle that came down to the wire, Jeremy Lin hit one of the greatest game winners of all time in front of a packed Scotiabank Arena. Seeing the clock drift towards zero, with his newfound fanbase slowly lifting from their seats, Jeremy rose up and splashed a shot straight out of the cinematic masterpiece. This was the peak of the Linsanity era. So many questions about whether or not this guy was for real. He silenced every doubter and was mobbed by his teammates as the Toronto fans, now his fans, were in complete awe. He continued scoring well, but it all came to a screeching halt as the Knicks faced the Big Three Miami Heat. Jeremy Lin was absolutely locked up, 8 points on 1 of 11 shooting with 8 turnovers. Fans didn't know it then, but this game was the death of Linsanity. He'd finally met his match and was unable to return to that past all-star level. This opened up the floodgates. The Knicks went 1-6 following this game as Jeremy looked okay until he suffered a meniscus injury and was forced to miss the rest of the year. The 2011-12 season came to an end. With Lin missing the postseason, Linsanity never got a chance to stamp his name in the playoffs, a shocking but phenomenal regular season run, but it left fans wanting a bit more. The 2012 offseason saw Lin as a restricted free agent with the chance to go anywhere he wanted. The Rockets, his former team, were more than interested in acquiring him and offered a 4-year, $25 million deal, a low-risk, high-reward contract that the Knicks would have no problem matching. It was time to take over New York. Wait, they didn't match the offer? What? That's right, the Knicks let Jeremy Lin walk in free agency to join the Rockets. This unpredictable move left many thinking, why did the Knicks let Lin leave so easily? Rumors came out immediately about the possibility of Carmelo Anthony involving himself in this. He was the #1 guy and wasn't interested in sharing the spotlight with the 23-year-old. Jeremy Lin represented the city of New York. New Yorkers resonated with his underdog story and hard-working mentality. Carmelo Anthony wasn't undrafted, he didn't just come out of nowhere, and had been a star since he was a teen. The theory goes that Melo became jealous of the rise of number 17 and forced the management to let him walk. The reason Linsanity fell could be because teams were figuring him out, or because Melo himself returned from injury, took the ball away and forced Lin to be a spot-up shooter. To add even more evidence to this, Melo was quoted as saying Lin's contract offer from Houston was ridiculous. The stats tell the full story. Lin averaged 20 a night without Melo and just 12 a night with him. Regardless, it was time to move on. The Rockets were a team with plenty of opportunity. Jeremy Lin had a chance to take the city of Houston by storm. However, just a few days before the season began, the Rockets traded for James Harden, and just like that, everything changed in the snap of a finger. Any chance of him evolving into a star wouldn't be realistic. He was best with the ball in his hands, and now that wouldn't be possible. Despite this, he played well and showed flashes. He was the starting point guard, but the rise to stardom never came. The 2013 playoffs arrived with nothing of significance. Lin got injured in a game-free collision, missing games 4 and 5 and being eliminated in 6. The 2013-14 season was more average play. His points and minutes dropped as he started less than half of the games this time around. The 2014 playoffs weren't anything of note either. He did have a 21-point game 5, which was solid, and he showed some hustle on this clutch assist to Troy Daniels in Game 3. His season ended on a Damian Lillard game winner, and it had become quite clear that Lin in Houston was not working. He signed there to be the #1 option, have a system run through him, and with the acquisition of James Harden, that became impossible. Not to mention there was quite the disconnect between him and the head coach, Kevin McHale. Many accused McHale of using Lin incorrectly, forcing him to be an off-ball player when he wasn't. The idea of him evolving into a star was still there, but it was much less promising. The Los Angeles Lakers came calling, and the Rockets had no issue giving him away for a few picks. A rough ending to an unfortunate era, but LA could be his chance to revive his career and meet his potential. The 2014-15 season came, and as you can imagine, the potential remained untapped. The now 26-year-old struggled to start consistently on an awful Lakers team. He did have some iconic moments, like when he blocked Raymond Green on a chase down, or when he waved off Kobe Bryant to hit a clutch shot versus the Clippers. The expectations of stardom for Jeremy Lin had dissolved, but he was a solid player that could contribute to any team, and that was a massive success in its own right. Summer 2015 saw Lin take a deal with the Charlotte Hornets, 2 years, $4.3 million, a massive drop in money from his previous contract. A tough pill to swallow, but the truth was clear. Lin was no longer as valuable as he once was. The 2015-16 Charlotte Hornets played well though, and Lin was back in the playoffs. He now knew his role and shined in it. With his team facing a 2-0 deficit against the Miami Heat in round 1, Lin dropped 18 and 21 points in games 3 and 4, both huge wins to keep his squad alive. The Hornets lost in 7, but seeing Lin step up when his team needed him was a great thing to watch. This earned him a bigger payday. He signed with the Nets for 3 years, $36 million, a worthy bag for the hardworking guard. He was back in New York on a terrible Nets team that desperately needed a leader. His stats bounced back up, and he was once again a starting point guard. Nevertheless, it wasn't the solid numbers that made the headlines, but the injury issues that had ravaged Lin's season. 36 games out of 82 were played by Linsanity due to hamstring issues. His problem was no longer the awkward fit like it once was in Houston. It was now an even more painful factor that Lin had no control of injuries. A positive ending to this story would be fantastic, but as we all know, these injuries didn't go away. The following 2017-18 season saw Lin suffer a major knee injury in the first game of the season, which would sideline him for the rest of the year. Seeing his expression when he realized the severity of this injury is absolutely heartbreaking. Lin knew this was it, mouthing the words "I'm done" as he slumped onto the court in tears. That was the last real chance Jeremy Lin ever got. An unfitting ending to an incredible story. The Hawks and Raptors both gave him deals in the 2018-19 season, but nothing amounted from it. The one positive is that he did win a ring with Toronto, a worthy accomplishment and the lasting image of a career that inspired millions. Since then, he's been unable to make it back into the NBA. He made the news in the summer of 2019 when he broke down on stage, expressing his frustration with his struggle in getting back to the league. He felt as though the NBA had given up on him and that his failures were displayed to the whole world. Like he always does, Lin then put his head down and continued to work even harder, earning a spot with the Beijing Ducks, where he put up 22 points per game. In the following season, he joined the Santa Cruz Warriors in the G League, where his high scoring continued. All he desired was a chance. In May of 2021, Lin posted to Instagram in what looked to be a farewell message to the NBA. In this post, he told his story firsthand of how tough it was to see others get contracts before him. He had zero regrets about how his pro career transpired and gave strong advice to the next generation of Asian American ballers as well. When you get that foot in the door, kick it down, is what he said. Since this post, it's been relatively silent in the world of Linsanity. He returned to the Beijing Ducks and is once again ready to compete and win. This is where the story of Jeremy Lin comes to an ending, a tale of perseverance, hard work, dedication, and unwillingness to accept failure. There were incredible, life-changing ups and heartbreaking, tragic lows, but Lin stayed motivated throughout it all. He's dealt with racist comments said to him throughout his career on the court, so much so to the point where he got a sports psychologist. The NBA itself can put an unbelievable amount of stress on a player, and to have to face racism throughout it is unimaginable. He wasn't handed a spot in the NBA, no, he had to work to achieve his dreams. It began with a splash in New York. He took the stage and had some of the most iconic moments in basketball history. His cold-blooded game winner versus the Raptors and his clutch shots against Kobe, and the Lakers took basketball by storm. His impact on the game motivated millions of kids throughout the world, showing that they too could achieve anything they desired. He inspired an entire generation of Asian American players. Most importantly, Jeremy Lin will forever be remembered as the man who revitalized Knicks basketball for one spectacular, iconic month.